Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck profile regarding the Royal Knights X Antibody. It's a little bit different from the regular Royal Knights, and I went undefeated in an Evolution Cup and won the Omni X, which is also part of the deck actually. I in fact played 2 Evolution Cups, no, I played 3 Evolution Cups and won 2 of them, one with the regular Royal Knights and the other one with this Royal Knights deck. And before we jump into deck profile, I want to give a huge thank you to my local Digimon scene, because I lost my Royal Knights deck, which had a lot of alt arts, and I was really sad about it, and I didn't know what I would do competitively because that was my best deck by a long shot. The best thing would be something like Crossheart, I don't know. 12 people at my local scene gathered all cards together for a Royal Knights deck, and they gave it to me with this cool deck box. Let me actually show you the cover. That one is Omnimon, which is German for Omni Meow, kind of, because it's Omnimon just as a cat. Really funny. And yeah, I'm really thankful for that. Also, there's a small Omegamon, close up. That's pretty cute. And yeah, because I played this deck ever since BT13, all through BT16, BT17, I just got handled by Numemon. But when BT20 came around, I was really excited, and I lost my deck somewhere at work. I don't know. I couldn't find it up until today. So yeah, I don't know where it is, and I'm happy to play Royal Knights again. Let's start with the most easiest card of the deck, the DIGI-PANDA. It's Yggdrasil 4 times, makes sense. You want to reduce your Royal Knights, so yeah, moving on. Magnamon also, that's an easy 4-off, because that's one of the cheapest Royal Knights you can play. In BT22, we'll get Ulforce and Leopardmon, which might shake up the ratios a little bit, because Magnamon is an easy 4-off right now. Maybe with something like Leopard, which is a little bit faster than Magnamon, because you can play out 2 bodies at once. Maybe Magnamon is going to go at 3, but right now it stays at 4. Next up, we've got Omegamon from BT13. Omegamon from BT13 is a 2-off in this deck list, because we don't have a lot of different Royal Knights, so cheating Royal Knights under Yggdrasil without actually playing them out isn't as necessary, you'll see in a moment. But most decks can go for a 2-4 or 3-3 split on the Omegamon. By the way, the other Omegamon BT20 is a 4-off in this deck list. We'll heavily use the on-play oftentimes, so it's necessary that we have Omegamon BT20 at the 4-off. Again, in normal Royal Knights, 3-3 might also be kind of fine, especially if you want to tuck something under with the Omega BT13. But the defensive capabilities from Omegamon BT20 will be one of the core strategies on our deck. To also facilitate a few more Omegamon BT20, we have Lord Knight from BT19, which can just play out a level 4 or lower. We just saw all of our level 4s, so Magnamon and the 2 Omegamon are our targets. It's especially good if you want to recycle the BT20 Omegamon, if you don't have any more in hands and no more under Yggdrasil because you used all of them. It might be pretty good to play one from trash and just go into security, especially with the end of turn from Omni X. You can just give the Omega Rush and he'll probably die because he only has 5000 DP. Moving on to one of the first weird things, we play Alphamon BT20 as a playset, as a 4-off. Now, usually Alphamon, the recover and barrier effect is not that good that you would play it as a playset, but I'll just skip ahead and go to the next 2 Digimon as well. We've got Alphamon Oryukin as a 3-off and Oryomon for BT20 as a 3-off. So you can see what I'm trying to get at. We actually want to play out an Alphamon and then DNA Digivolve or Blast DNA whenever our opponent's attacks through the Alphamon or right at the Alphamon, whatever. We want to DNA with the Oryomon in hand, which it's a brick, it's a garnet. You know, you cannot use the Oryomon for anything else except for the Blast DNA. When that comes up, it's pretty good. And there's also a reason why we want to play that, even though we usually cannot search it. You'll be surprised by how much we can search the Oryomon. So that's one half. The other half is obviously Omnimon BT13 for the Omni turn, and Omnimon BT20, which is one of the best cards in Digimon, I guess, because, well, on play bottom deck something without any conditions, rush, raid, piercing, blocker. Yeah, I don't need to tell you why Omni X is such a good card, especially with Oryukin, because whenever you go for an early Omni turn with not that many different Royal Knights, you can just end of turn attack, which will remove a security. You also have piercing if they try to block with something that has 15 or less. So you'll get first security, gain 3 more memory, and oftentimes this is enough to keep turn and go for the other swings, other checks with some more Royal Knights. Yeah, next up, again, a pretty weird card is usually not played, BT10 Omni X. Omni X BT10 didn't do anything for the deck up until BT20, because the only thing you could do was get him out with Purge, give him Rush, and then put a X Antibody under him to, when attacking, bottom deck the X Antibody and remove your opponent's security at will. That means you're going to reveal the entire security, pick one card, trash it, and then flip it face down again to do your check with Omni X. So yeah, any Royal Knight that didn't have an on play wasn't even close to being considered. I saw a lot of people going for Alphamon, but no, please don't. Same thing with Omni X, apart from this deck list, because we have 4 of Omegamon. If our opponent is going to check our security, we can also go into that Omni X, because Omegamon BT20 doesn't specify which Omni X. So yeah, we have 7 Omni X, which makes it a little bit easier to use Omni X BT20. As a Royal Knights player, you have to think about, okay, am I going to use my Omni X as an out in my turn to bottom deck something and raid into something? Or am I going to hold it off for the Omega play out of security or Omega play out of the cool boy? With the new Omnimon, or with the old Omnimon BT10, you can kind of predict if your opponent is going to not go for a game if you can remove the highest level, which is the one Digivolving of the old Omnimon. Yeah, if that's something that is going to save you, you can choose to Digivolve into the old one to use the better Omnimon X in your turn with the on play. Also, you're not that fast out of gas. Sometimes you have Omega under Yggdrasil, but no Omni X because you use Omni X for the on plays, as I've told before. So yeah, that's just a little bit more gas in the tank, even though it's not as versatile as the other Omni X BT20, but yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I'll talk more about the Omni X once we get through all the cards, because we're also on 3X Antibody. I'll get there in a moment. It's a really important card for the deck, obviously only in combination with the Omni X. Apart from that, it does nothing. You can kind of get lucky with it in security and gain a memory, which happened to me quite often. The other option cards are the standard Purge of Royal Knights, 4 off, Last Guardian, 4 off, and just quickly, Last Guardian is pretty funny in this deck because it doesn't only search Royal Knights, it also searches Digimon with X Antibody in its traits, which it was supposed to be used for Omegamon, BT13 and BT20, because they have X Antibody in its traits. Omegamon BT20 is even X Antibody itself regarding to its name, so if you Digivolve into Omni X on your opponent's turn, because you played out the BT20 Omegamon, you can also use the other when Digivolving to bottom deck Omega to reveal your opponent's security during your turn. That's pretty funny. And yeah, Last Guardian can search Oriomon as well, so if you're missing like the third piece, if you have Alphamon Oriomon, you can search Alphamon. Also the other way around, if you have 2 of those 3 cards or the ace play, you can search Last Piece with Last Guardian, you know. Moving on to the Tamers, we have Cool Boy as a 4 off, obviously, which is BT20 Cool Boy. He's going to give you a draw and a memory each time you play Royal Knight. That's pretty self-explanatory. Nearly every card in your deck is Royal Knight. And the opponent's turn effect is also pretty important, especially if you go from the security. Like if your security is going to get trashed and you play 1 Omega from Yggdrasil, your Yggdrasil is going to be suspended and you can't do that a second time. But if you go into the old Omni X, which is also a Royal Knight, you can interrupt them for 1 time. So if the Omnimon somehow gets removed, not by Medieval, you can use the Cool Boy effect to play out another Omega. Obviously you need to keep 1 Omega in hand for that play, but yeah, it's kind of nice. It's really kind of nice. You can, from there you can go into the much better BT20 Omni X, which we've discussed before, and yeah, it's a pretty nice one. And now the last special for the deck is BT9 Cool Boy. BT9 Cool Boy is also going to search every X Antibody, so Oriomon can be searched and Omegamon can also be searched. That's pretty cool. That's also the only thing that he really does. The good thing about BT9 Cool Boy is that he only costs 2 memory, which is oftentimes a pretty good amount of memory to choke your opponent. Just having the ability to search some of your cards while also expending some memory but not a lot of memory will oftentimes put you in a pretty good situation. Also, Last Guardian is going to play out an Omegamon or a Cool Boy. If you somehow have a Cool Boy in your hand, you can also play it. There are a lot of times where if you play regular Royal Knights, you will not have a Cool Boy in hand and also not an Omega, because right now, if you look at this deck, we only have 10 targets, and Omega, you want to play out an Omega quite early if you have nothing better in hand. Yeah, you get your Omegas out of your hand, you also want to get the Cool Boys down, so you don't keep them in hand that long. But the BT9 Cool Boy you can keep in hand, or even if it gets trashed in security, or even deleted by any Tamer hate. I mean, we have Galacticmon, some insect Digimon will delete your Tamers. Yeah, you can play him from the trash from your hand, and he's pretty nice. So we kind of gotten to the main idea. You either want to ace. If your opponent cannot out your Alphamon, you need to judge, depending on the matchup, if your Alphamon is going to be outed or not. Also something like Magnamon Rush, or rather Armor Rush with Magna X, might fall victim to Alphamon. The only problem is they have started like 17 Magnamon, which is always going to bounce your Alphamon. So that's a problem. But apart from that, again, hunters. You can easily ace any Aristotle Superior mod because you'll give -15, you'll take the memory, you'll trash their security. The ace is kind of nice. On the other side, we have, again, a few more Omni X's and the Omegamon to kind of interact with your opponent during their turn without actually having something on the board. Even any Magnamon BT13 can be a bait if paired with a cool boy from BT20, since, well, most effects are going to remove the Magnamon, and if you're on 1 security, you can play out the Omegamon and blah blah blah. You know the drill. Omegamon is the name of the game. That's why we have BT9 Cool Boy, because Cool Boy searches you the pieces. You can search Omni X, you can search Omegamon. This deck wants to go for a little bit more consistency, and a little bit more consistency, especially in the part of Omni X. I was also kind of lucky to not play against the Kuriamon or Gil, Megidra Birds, whatever you want to call the red deck that uses a lot of Growl X effects or on-deletion effects. I think I would have probably lost against one of those decks, and the only kind of stronger decks I played against was kind of Magnamon, which was easily outed by Oryuken Ace, because every Magnamon is unaffected. Yeah, that's true, but as long as they don't have a nice house in security, I can easily out them with Oryuken. It's even fine if they bounce Oryuken back to hand with the starter deck Magnamon, because you can just out the next Magna X that they're going to play. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I also played against Gallantmon, and Gallantmon is kind of the same thing. Gallantmon X has protection, and especially if he's quite fast with his plays on the second turn and OTKs me kind of. I don't have a lot of things to do, but I can get I can play around his protection by just playing Oryuken and then using anything else like an option or a Cool Boy to turn pass, because Oryuken is kind of cheap. That's it for today. That was the deck list, and I hope you really enjoyed the BT10 Omnimon. I really tried to implement all of the Evolution Cup cards that you would get into a deck, and yeah, that's the result of that. So yeah, let me know down below in the comments how you like the deck, and yeah, I'll see ya. Bye bye.